your speaker. I would like to make a few announcements as Ezron is still checking on his speaker. This webinar will attract 3 speedy points that will be created to your portals in the next 24 hours. And if you have any complaints, there's a complaints link that is going around in our platforms. You can always report your or register your complaints there. You will also be able to get certificate of participation from this webinar. Ezron, are you now able to hear us?
I think I'm now on. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much. So welcome, Ezron, and you can take the mic.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to thank LMSK for giving this chance again to present on this very important topic of building successful laboratory teams. Last time we talked about another important topic of financial management in the lab. And these two topics are kind of related because all of them come in handy when we look at proper management of our labs and even ensuring that we get profit from what we do. Because as we mentioned last time, is that as much as we are helping people, we are also supposed to make some money which can keep us afloat and also keep us going as lab officers. So thank you very much and welcome to this webinar. We'll just go right into it. And the scope of our topic today will cover the difference between a leader and a manager. We look at the difference between these two people and see what each one of them does to ensure that the running of our labs is done properly. Another thing that we'll be looking at throughout this webinar is good communication and how that one helps in building teams. The third point that we look at the importance of DEI, what we call diversity, equity, and inclusion. Then we look at emotional intelligence and how emotional intelligence can help managers and leaders govern their people and ensure that organizations or facilities are run in the best way possible. Again, we look at why core values are important, and we look at what are these core values that should be in place when a leader or a manager is managing a team. Then lastly, we look at conflict management, because as we understand that every place where there are two or more people, there'll be conflicting opinions and there'll be differences. So we look at how these differences can be solved so that there can be harmony in teams and the teams can carry out their duties as required. So as we move into it, I would like to introduce first why this topic is important to laboratory officers. So this topic is important to us because there are things that we call quality systems, and they're essentials in the labs. These quality systems include things like management of personnel, whereby when you manage personnel, we look at their roles and responsibilities. And these responsibilities and roles are normally stipulated and given by the leaders or managers that manage facilities. Again, we look at the process control is part of these quality systems essentials. So process controls include things like specimen management, quality controls in the lab. It also includes things like proficiency testing and how they are controlled and carried out in the lab. We also have documentation and records and how they are managed in the lab as part of quality systems essentials. And then lastly, as part of the quality system essentials, we have what we call the facility and safety. Because once we have a facility, be it a lab or a full-scale facility that does everything, we need to have safety in that facility to ensure that we protect what we have as resources, and also we protect our people who are working for us in these facilities. So as you can see on the slide that I've shared, the World Health Organization has a framework for all health systems and how they're supposed to be managed. On the right there, you can see we have the overall goals and outcomes of a health system. And on the left, we have building blocks that are supposed to be provided and also are supposed to be in any health system if we are to find um, success, or if we are to develop successful health systems. So what we have on the right as the overall goals or outcomes of health system include improved health, the level of equity that we have when we are offering these health services. We have the responsiveness of the systems that we create. Here, responsiveness simply means that how fast are we able to look at problems, and how fast are we able to solve these problems when they arise or when they come about, because problems will come about in any sector. So it should be responsive enough to be able to encounter or able to solve any problem that arises in the whole system. Then we also have social and financial risk protection. And this one we look at how people can acquire or how people can get healthcare services without them going bankrupt or without them having to sell everything that they have to get that particular service that they need. Then lastly, in overall outcomes or goals, we have improved efficiency. The WHO requires that every health service that we offer, there should be improved efficiency in the whole process. So that is on the overall goals and outcomes. And also, we have 6 building blocks to the systems framework. And these building blocks include things like service delivery. We have health workforce, which is us, because nothing can happen without the health workforce. The personnel, the people who actually do the work. And then you have information. Hereby, information means anything that is pertaining to health services that are offered. Are they available to the population? And are the people working in these facilities know what kind of information they need to know about sicknesses or occurring emergencies in the health system? Then we have medical procedures, vaccines, and technology. We have financing, which we talked about last during our very first webinar this year. We talked about financing in health system. And then the last one, the sixth that we want to look for, or we want to look at today, is the leadership and governance. Because we find that for us to bring these two things together, the system building blocks, and then we achieve overall outcomes, or rather goals, we have to have good governance or leadership put in place for all this to happen. So as you can see, for us to deliver these systems, there has to be access, and that coverage has to reach people, in that when somebody is looking for a service, they don't need to walk for over 10 kilometers or even very far away from their home for them to get these services. So there has to be access for these two things to be linked. There has to be access, and there has to be coverage, and above all, there's supposed to be quality and safety. So these services that you offer should be of high quality, and there should be safety. As I mentioned, we are supposed to be talking about the last building block there of the health system, the one that talks about governance and leadership, because without governance and leadership, we'll not be able to put up things together. We cannot put resources together. We can also not put personnel together and everything that is supposed to be in the health system so that we can achieve a desired outcome. So with the good leadership and management, that is when we'll be able to achieve all these things we are talking about. As you all understand, is that even the most primitive of animals need someone to lead them. And even in all the other kingdoms, there is always a leader. If you look at the animal kingdom, you look at the lions, they have a leader. You look at any animal, even if you have sheep at your home, you'll realize that there's that particular sheep that is always leading, and then the others can follow. So even here, we cannot move blindly without having somebody who is supposed to be ahead of us to give us direction, then we follow. So I will very quickly look at the difference between leading and managing. because these things are they look the same, and normally people use them interchangeably. But we find that leading and managing are different, because what a manager does is not what a leader does. Because if you look at the definition of a leader, a leader is someone who is supposed to be doing the things right, in simple term, because the leader is supposed to be providing a vision for the team, and he or she shows the team where they need to go, and this vision is supposed to be one that is understood throughout the organization or throughout the health system that we have. That is a leader. While a manager simply gets things done. So after the leaders have crafted and they have sat down and seen that this is where we want to go, then they also realize that there's somebody supposed to be put to make these things work, or to do the actual work of reaching us there. So management, in short, is doing it right and getting it done. And we also find that leaders have a moral obligation to us, and this moral obligation is to show us the light and to show us where we are supposed to be going as an organization, while managers ensure that the light that we have, we need to follow it until finally we reach our destination, which is the vision. So there is a philosopher called Raka who once said that those who seek to lead but fail to manage are not important to an organization. And what he meant here is that for you to be a leader, you first have to show that you can manage people, because the basics of leadership is normally understood when you know the people that you are working with, and you can manage them well, and you can also know what they need at any given time for you to reach the final destination, which is the vision that the leader has provided. So for you to be a leader, first of all, you must know how to manage. And management here comes in managing people, managing resources, and ensuring that you put everything together for the betterment of the organization. So on your screen there, you can see we have leading versus managing. I will go through all these one by one and show us what it means by when we say that a leader is supposed to be scanning, what it means to scan. When we say that a leader is supposed to be focusing, what does it mean to focus? So as you can see, a leader is supposed to scan, focus, is supposed to align or mobilize. And then lastly, a leader is supposed to inspire. On the manager side, you can see we have a plan. Manager is supposed to plan, is supposed to organize, is also supposed to implement, and then lastly, but not least, is supposed to monitor and evaluate. So let us begin with the leader, who is supposed to be scanning. So what is scanning? A leader, when we say that a leader is supposed to be scanning, that leader is supposed to be understanding the stakeholders first. For example, if you have organization, who are the stakeholders here? He's supposed to be understanding that, and also after understanding the stakeholders, he's supposed to relay this information to the people in the organization. Under scanning still, that leader is supposed to be seeing trends and opportunities. Apart from seeing trends and opportunities, he's also supposed to be able to see risks. And then also, under scanning, is supposed to be looking for the best practices, which will lead to successful outcomes. So this leader, for him to do this, they're supposed to be knowing themselves very well. They're supposed to understand the organization very well. They're supposed to stand there as stakeholders. And they normally say that the leader on top there or in the organization, you are the picture, you are the face of an organization. So if you are able to do all these things, then which means that everything that is supposed to be done by the organization will run well. Then we have focusing. Under focusing, the leader is supposed to articulate missions and strategy. He's supposed to identify critical challenges and what challenges can be met in the daily running of the organization. The leader is supposed to show how strategy is supposed to be implemented and how these strategies link to the outcome or even the overall goals that we want in the end. Under focusing the same, this leader is supposed to be creating common picture, and this common picture is supposed to be the desired one. And the desired picture will bring successful outcomes. A leader is also supposed to align and mobilize. And as I mentioned also, you are the picture. If you're a leader of organization, you are the picture. You are the face of that organization. And underlining and mobilizing, if you are the top leader, you're supposed to be the first marketer of that organization, because when people look at the picture of an organization, that is what they will actually look at that organization and say that this is what they represent. So if you're the face of an organization and they think that you're somebody who is very lousy, then that organization of yours will be taken as a very lousy organization that cannot help people. So underlining and mobilizing, you're supposed to ensure that the organization um, is content in what values they uphold and what they do. You are also supposed to be facilitating teamwork and aligning. You are supposed also to enlighten people and also talk to the stakeholders and tell them to commit resources, because it is you who's supposed to be telling the stakeholders who are supporting this organization or even your lab what is required and what is needed. So as a leader, you should talk to the stakeholders and bring them forward to bring resources so that our organization can continue. The greatest of all is the last part there, to inspire. So as a leader, you need to inspire people. And under inspiration, for you to inspire people, you have to act and do what you say. You are supposed to be trustworthy. You are supposed to be very honest and also act as a role model, because you cannot inspire people if your actions and what you do are not the same as what you say. So when you say something, for you to inspire people, you must act as their role model as a leader in any field. And then quickly we go to the role, the manager. The manager, we said, is supposed to be planning. As you know, planning is just putting resources which have been allocated towards specific things that's supposed to be done. So you achieve a set goal by putting resources to those the things that are supposed to be leading to that goal. You're also supposed to organize. Hereby, you organize processes, you organize resources, you organize people, you organize structure. You basically organize everything. The simplest of all that people know that a manager does is maybe creating a schedule or a rota or of how people are supposed to be working. That is the simplest, but actually they do a lot. They also organize resources, structures, and processes, because if you come from the people who work, you're supposed to go through the manager, and then the manager is supposed to relay information to the top leadership. Then they're supposed to implement. Under implementing, they're supposed to be implementing activities and also expending their effort to all that can contribute towards a desired result. They're supposed to, after implementing everything, they're supposed to monitor and evaluate. So as we said that after doing everything, and then you go and sit down and look at whatever you planned and what you have achieved. You look at whether you have made losses or you have made profit, and that is found under monitoring and evaluation. Under monitoring and evaluation, that is where a manager will also know whether the strategies put in place actually worked. So all these things we are talking about here are leading us to building teams which are successful, because before we build a team, they are individuals. And these individuals are supposed to come and form a team which are supposed to be working together as a unit. So there is somebody supposed to bring them together. That is why I've decided to begin with the leader and a manager, because sometimes you're not a leader in where you are, and you're a manager. Sometimes you're neither a manager nor a leader, but you are a member of a team. This will also help you because you understand what's supposed to be doing to assist your leader or your manager to achieve a desired outcome. So we have a way of evaluating or seeing how a manager or a leader is supposed to be behaving, so that we can know that you can build successful teams. So one of the things that a leader should do to build successful team is supposed to be one of the characteristics is supposed to be adaptable to change. That leader is supposed to be able to adapt to change, in that is somebody who is flexible, and when there are different ways of doing things in the field, they're supposed to understand that very fast and then move towards that direction. They are not supposed to be strongheads or people who are very difficult to receive change or see something differently. And then that leader should also show genuine interest in team members. Because we find that most of the time they are leaders who are far away from the members, and members cannot reach them. The team members cannot reach them. You only see them once, and when you see them when they come to give directives, and when they come to maybe reprimand somebody or pass information that members need to know. But you also need to show genuine interest in members, in that you need to interact with them daily. You need to know what they want, you need to know what they like, and everything that they want for a successful team. You also, as a leader, you need to embrace a coaching mindset. In coaching here, coaching is two-way. You can find that you're a leader, but you are not the most competent in your group. So, in a situation where you're a leader and you're not the most competent in the group, you can have somebody who is below you coach you in some areas. And sometimes maybe you are a leader and you're very good at a particular field or a particular area. You are supposed to be able to coach people. And when coaching people, you are simply allowing them or giving them the opportunity to do that which is available for them in terms of leadership or in terms of roles. And also, they should also be learning from you as you coach them. They should also learn from you by the things you do and say. And then you are supposed to practice effective listening as a leader. And as people say that as a leader, you should listen more but talk less. If you have a leader who talks more but listen very little, then there's a problem there, because you are there to solve people's problem. By solving people's problem, you'll not be solving them by talking too much, or making it look like people are always on the wrong side. But when you listen more to your team members or the group of people you are leading, it is very easy for you to find ways of solving problems in your organization or even in your lab. You're also supposed to cultivate an inspiration and vision that we had mentioned there. And also, you should be able to build relationships. These relationships that you are building are supposed to be within the organization and outside the organization, because when you build relationship that last, that means that you can get more stakeholders on board. You can also get more people on board to come and help you do particular things or certain things. For example, if you're a leader who does things of charity, then you're supposed to be building very good relationship, because you need people to support you with their money or even other resources. You also need other organizations to also maybe work together with you as implementing partners, or as partners dealing with particular areas. You're supposed to exhibit calmness, because the moment a leader is not exhibiting calmness, the members of the team members will be afraid to come to them and also report problems that they have. You are supposed to be able to encourage new ideas. Do not send people away when they come with the new ideas. Just listen to them and tell them whether that is possible or not possible, or even if something that you can sit down and talk about it as a group. You tell them that, oh, this I've not heard about it, but we can sit down and talk about it as a group and see if it works or not. So encourage new ideas. People coming in with new ideas can help the lab grow, can help the facility grow, and even the organization also to grow. You are supposed to demonstrate a positive attitude towards people. And in this part of attitude, we'll talk about it more in the next topic that we are moving to. So we have a roadmap to successful team. After talking about what a leader needs to build a successful team, there's supposed to be a roadmap that they should use to build that successful team. And under this, there are so many things we can look at, but today I've decided we'll look at what is called DAY, popularly known as DAY. So day in full simply means diversity, equity, and inclusion. And most of the organization, as we speak currently, have put this in place, and they have this as one of their policies, that here we are diverse, here we are inclusive, and here we are equitable, and we treat people with the utmost respect that they deserve. Most companies or most hospitals and organizations have embraced day in their daily running activities. So I'll explain briefly what they means and how we can use it to build successful teams. First, I'll begin with the diversity, and we find that diversity is the practice of involving people from diverse backgrounds or different backgrounds. And these backgrounds do not only mean you are bringing people from different tribes or bringing people from different colors or races. It is very diverse. It is very huge. For example, You bring in people from who have different skill sets. You bring people who have different abilities. You bring in people who have different ages, so that your organization does not only have people who are very old, or does not have only people who are very young. You go into all the age sets and all the age groups. You also bring in different people who have different gender. The issue of gender is very difficult to talk about these days, because people say that there are only two gender. Other people also want to identify as either. So you bring people from different, very diverse backgrounds, or even sexual orientation also included in this part. And it is not limited to the things I've mentioned. You can also bring people who are having different capabilities or different competencies. For example, you want to have people who know much about this particular topic. You also want people who know much about this particular topic, because finding one person who knows everything in this field of ours is difficult. So you try to diversify and bring in people from different backgrounds. Then inclusion simply means you are providing equal access to opportunity and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized from these resources. So, as we all know that bringing in people from maybe minority communities has been a difficult task, because people normally have this is what we call tribalism, if I may talk about it in Kenya. You want to bring people from people you're familiar with, or people who come from the same area you come from, or people who talk the same language as you. And this way, if we do this, we find that there are people who will automatically be excluded from the resources and the activities that we are doing. So when you do inclusion in your organization, you try to bring people on board, or you provide them equal access. If you have people who are not who are able differently, you ensure that your facility has a place for them. If you have people who are lactating, you also provide a space for them to do that without discriminating them. If you have people who have certain conditions, we know these days there's a lot of mental health issues. If you have people whom you have realized that they have this particular mental health issue, or they have a health problem that cannot allow them to work in a certain way, you also be inclusive and also accept them that way, and also look for a modality of working with them without having to push them too far, or give them a lot of pressure. So by including them, sorry, you are providing them a voice, you are giving them a chance to choose, you are giving them the opportunity to engage in decision making. You're also giving them the opportunity to participate in setting of policies, in setting of roles, in setting of goals, etc. And they're also not supposed to be excluded from power. So you ensure that you are very inclusive to all these people we have talked about. And then we talk about equity. Equity, when we come to equity, simply means that you're being fair and impartial, so that no one person gets the whole bread when other people are not eating. If it is a whole bread, then people are supposed to be getting slices according to. I want you to understand this, because people confuse a lot equity and equality. We cannot all be equal. Even in organizations where we work, we cannot not all be equal. But at least we can be treated with fairness and impartiality that gives us what we require to achieve what we want to achieve. And for you to be equitable, you have to look at so many things to provide equity. First, you assess the resources that you have. You also provide training for people who have gaps, or places where there are gaps. You can provide training. You are supposed to recognize the strengths that are within your team members, and then also you're supposed to foster respect and also include teamwork. So we go forward, we are going to look at the equity and equality. As I said earlier, that equality only, it means that you are giving every person the same amount of resources, or even the same amount of time, or you're giving them the same amount of responsibility. While on the other hand, equity recognizes that each person is different, and therefore each person is allocated the resources and opportunities needed to reach their desired outcome or goal. As you can see from the picture, sometimes when you give people resources equally, you'll realize that people who are not well talented sometimes may be disadvantaged. As you can see there, that this young man here who is very short and is given the same amount of stand to have with these two people. For this young man, their vision will be blurred. They will not be able to see anything, but the resource has been provided for them. They have a stand. The second one there, you can see they have been given a stand and they can be able to see the other side. And then the first person there, he's already tall, and also, despite the fact that he's tall, he has also been given a stand. So in this case here, there is equality. We have given them the same resources, but we have not helped them all. One person is suffering while the other two people are enjoying. And then when you go to the second one there, you can look at equity. Here we provide the person who is disadvantaged. We give him what resources the amount of resources he requires to reach a particular goal. And as you can see from that pictures, it is self-explanatory. So there is what we call equity, equality, reality, and liberation. And for the first two, I've explained them. But I want us to look at the reality. Most of the places where we work, the reality is what works most. We find that the person who is disadvantaged is always given the least amount of resources to help them. And then the person who is advantaged already is given even more, as you can see in that particular picture there. So most of the time where we work in, the reality is what works. And it's very difficult to achieve liberation in most of the places we work in. So we are talking about these things so that when we are working in these spaces, we can provide people with opportunities to realize goals by giving them what they need. We don't give them too much, we don't give them too little. We just give them what they need according to their capability so that they can also achieve their desired outcome. And that is what we call equity. I want you to remember a few things here about day. You should remember that you do not need to be an expert to become effective in building diverse, equitable, and inclusive team or a workplace. In a workplace, you are supposed to only be objective. You're supposed to be somebody who is open-minded for you to build these teams like this. Again, you are supposed to be open-hearted. You are supposed to have open-hearted curiosity and fundamental respect for others. And this is essential for the foundation of every team that we have. You should also recognize that what we do not know or understand is an opportunity for growth and inquiry and rich relationship with others. Here, there's a problem because people do not accept most of the time what they don't know. They just want to argue and bring a lot of problems. And when they don't know anything, they want to be corrected. What you don't know, you're supposed to be accepting that you don't know something and then inquire. And in that way, we grow as a team. So as we know that in our labs, we're supposed to be doing these things, but it is difficult to do them. Um, we should encourage our leaders or our managers to embrace these things because these things are part of building a strong team. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about one of the things that is a pillar for team building. If you want to build a strong team, there are things you need to look at for you to have this strong team. And one of the things that we have is communication. Most of the time, people think of communication as one person talking and the other one listening. It is not like that because communication entails a lot of things. As you know, we have nonverbal cues. We have people who communicate when they just communicate without talking anything. So we cannot say that communication is simply talking and listening. It is all these things put together for us to pass a given communication or a given issue. So, in terms of communication, you're supposed to be, as a manager or a leader, able to communicate points. You are able to communicate following certain things. And today we'll talk about certain things that we call the 7 C's that will help us know how to communicate. And under the 7 C's, we have your communication is supposed to be clear, it's supposed to be concise, it's supposed to be concrete, it's supposed to be correct, it's supposed to be coherent, complete, and courteous. Because if we don't have any of these things in our communication in everyday life, we will find that there's a break in communication. And when there's a break in communication, we cannot have a one team that is closely knit and works together to achieve the same goal. So under the 7 Cs, let me just explain briefly what each of them mean. For example, when we say that the communication is supposed to be clear, so clear communication means that to state the message directly using simple, appropriate language. You are supposed to use the simplest language for people to understand. Don't put your words in big words or be verbose in communication and say so many things and hide your words in metaphors and expect your team members to decode what you're saying. Just be clear, use a very simple and appropriate language. There is no subtle interpretation and needed to fully understand the intent of a message if the message is clear and direct to the point. You are not supposed to also have to clutter your information with interfering words or metaphors or any other thing that can make people not understand you clearly. Don't have people in your group second guessing and asking each other, what do you think he means? The moment you have people asking their team members what the leader means or what the manager means, which means your communication is not effective. Again, your communication is supposed to be concise, whereby concise, we say that that communication is about using the right few words to construct the message. Like I've said, you're not supposed to be verbose. If it is something that is simple, just state that directly to the point, hit to the point, and then people will be able to understand you easily. So when the message is concise, it enables people to understand the intention quickly and easily. Also, being concise builds transparency because the point of the message is specific and readily available, not hidden among extra words or jargons. Your communication is supposed to be concrete, and whereby concrete, we say that the communication produces a crisp picture of the intention. So whatever you're supposed to be speaking is supposed to be contributing the picture of what you're talking about. It focuses on the communication of the desired action and responses. Appropriate visual aids should be provided in place, like charts, graphs, and pictures, and also make your message known that this is what he's talking about. Don't have so many things put together. If you intend to talk about point B, ensure that you're going to talk about point B that particular day, and then you can talk about point C the next day. Don't mix everything up at the same time. Coherence, when you talk about coherent communication enables us to connect the dots for the staffs. We can be logical, we can be consistent, we can be consistent also. And when we do all these things, we eliminate diversions and sidebars from the main message. Most of the time, you find that people do not understand you properly because you are not putting your words together, you're not putting your sentence together, so you're incoherent. So for you to be coherent, sometimes you need to repeat key points and key themes across the different messages and different modes of communication. And this will help build greater coherence throughout your speeches or your communication with your members. Your communication is supposed to be complete, as you can see there, whereby completeness, it has everything that is required to be in that particular communication. So for lab managers and lab leaders, it will help you as staff when communication is complete. The message will contain all the information needed to guide the desired actions. So complete messages also provide the necessary details and also the call to action and ensure that no significant gap in information is available when you talk or when you communicate with the people. And you know that one complete message is much more effective than several partial information that you provide. Sometimes you can wake up in the morning and find your leader has texted like 50 WhatsApp messages in the morning, while they could have just put out that message in one long text and complete everything at once. So you are supposed to be not be having several partial messages. You're supposed to have an effective way of putting that message in one complete maybe paragraph, let's say, or one complete format for the people to see it properly. You are supposed to be courteous in your communication. So courtesy is normally, as they say, that courtesy costs nothing, but it buys everything. If you treat people with contempt, they will likely treat you with the same contempt that you treat them with. So you're supposed to be courteous in your communication in every day. So our communication is more effective when it is kind respectful, compassionate, and also with some humility in it. As a leader, you're supposed to come and just override other people in meetings and also stop them when they're talking. You're supposed to be courteous and humble as you do all these things. So we achieve positive communication when we do all these things as leaders or managers. Ladies and gentlemen, there's something also which is very important when we look at building strong teams, and this thing is called emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, it's very important, and you find that people think that emotional intelligence is something you're born with. This is something you're not born with. This is something that can be learned, and we need to have it as leaders and managers if you want to go far, because most of the problems that we have in our labs or even in our facilities comes from people not understanding others as they are, or people not uh, taking time to listen to other people and accept them as they are, and people assuming that others think in the same way they think. So emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as recognizing and influencing the emotions of other people around you. So you're supposed to first understand and manage your own emotions, and then also you're supposed to recognize and influence the emotion of other people around you. And this emotional intelligence will help us in so many things, like I've listed here. First of all, it will help us understand and interpret emotions. So, under understanding and interpreting emotions, we find that emotional intelligence also allows individuals to recognize and understand their own emotions as well as emotions of other people. This awareness will help you to accurately interpret nonverbal cues, and this is such as facial expressions and body language, which are crucial components of communication. So understanding the emotional context enables people to respond appropriately and empathetic with empathy, thereby enhancing equity, equality, in their communication in everyday life. Then we are also supposed to be the emotional intelligence is supposed to help us to have empathy and perspective taking. So here we are. It involves the ability to empathize with others and see things from their perspective. You are supposed to sit back sometimes and relax and ask yourself, what if I was in this person's shoes? What would you have done? So it's supposed to create to help. It is supposed to help you act with empathy and also take perspective of other people. So sometimes when we communicate with individuals, if you find somebody who is having a high emotional intelligence, they are more likely to consider and understand other people's emotions, needs, and motivations of others. But people who have low emotional intelligence will do the reverse. They will not take time to understand other people's emotions. They will not take time to understand other people's perspectives, and they will always think that their perspective is the right one and should be followed by all. It also helps us to effectively express our emotions, because if you have emotional intelligence, you will be able to express your emotions as required. You also need this in conflict resolution. So it plays a very crucial role in conflict resolution, because for you to resolve conflicts through effective communication, individuals with high emotional intelligence are skilled at managing and diffusing tense situations, while the other people on the other side, they always do the reverse. They escalate the situations, they make things very difficult, and they make solving problems take a very long time, and involving so many other people which are not necessary. So, if you have emotional intelligence, which is appropriate for you to have, you will be able to solve conflicts and also reach amicable solutions faster, while also putting into account other people's emotions. Again, it will also help you to build and maintain relationships. So people with high emotional intelligence who are capable of building relationships and even maintaining them for longer period of time, as opposed to people who have low emotional intelligence. So communication is the foundation of healthy relationships, as we know, and emotional intelligence is greatly influences relationship and dynamics of people and how they behave in everyday life. So we have 4 dimensions of emotional intelligence, as you can see on your screen there. We'll talk about them briefly. And first of all, as you can see there, we have what is called awareness, and then we have what's called management. And under the vertical axis, you can see we have social competence and personal competence. So when you look at awareness, under the personal competence, you're supposed to be having what is called self awareness, whereby you're supposed to know yourself. This is identity and understand my own feelings and tendency. You're supposed to ask yourself, do I understand my own feelings? And do I understand my own tendencies every now and then? If you understand all these things, then we can say that this person is self aware. They understand their feelings, they understand their own tendencies, they understand how they can behave in different situations and in different scenarios when they are put in those scenarios. Then, under the social competence, and you will see there that you're supposed to be having what is called social awareness. This is somebody who is able to pick up emotions and and perspective of others. Are you aware of other people's emotions who are around you? And can you take their perspectives? Can you put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself how they will feel, how you will feel when you are in that situation where they are at that particular time? And then management, we have self management, whereby you're supposed to adjust and direct my thoughts and actions. So after you are self-aware, you're supposed to be able to manage yourself in that you're supposed to adjust and direct your thoughts and actions so that they will not be conflicting, or they will not conflict with other people's emotions. Then relationship management there, effective management, effectively manage interactions and relations. As we said there, that people who have high emotional intelligence are they get along easily with people, and they also maintain relationship for a very long time, as opposed to their counterparts who have low emotional intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, as we talked about in the opening time, we said that where there are two people, there will be conflict, and this conflict, when it arises, it does not mean that people are supposed to be fighting, but people are supposed to be looking of a way of winning, and others looking for a way of losing. Sometimes conflict is positive. Do not only look at conflict as a negative thing, because conflict can sometimes help us to achieve certain goals. It can also help us know where we have not been doing the best of things. So conflict often has a negative connotation, as I've said. We associate it with the clear winners and losers. However, conflict can also be used to increase our own effectiveness. So when we have conflict and resolve them, we can increase how effective we are as an organization or even as a team. So causes of conflict that you can see there are several causes of conflict, and conflicts can arise every day where we work. One of the causes of conflict can come as a result of resources and needs, whereby resources means that maybe some departments are provided with more while others are provided with less. Sometimes it even stems down to punitive things like there's no bread in the kitchen, so people fight. Or somebody came with food and somebody went to the microwave or even the fridge and ate it all when the owner was away. That is resources and needs. And then we have a different working style. People have different working styles. Maybe somebody wants to work when the bench is cluttered with so many things. There are pipettes here, there are tubes there, there's blood everywhere. They want to work that way. And then when the other person comes, they want to declutter everything and remove and only remain in their working space. So there already there's a conflict, because there are two conflicting ideas and opinion. We also have perception. Perception always bring conflict, because other people may be perceived, for example, as being arrogant. Others may also be perceived as being lenient. Other people may be perceived as people who are not hostile enough. And when you are perceived this way, it can bring conflict, because, for example, if people perceive you as somebody who does not know how to say no, they will misuse you. Every time somebody want to take a off day and they didn't communicate early, they'll just call the person they normally know that cannot say no, and tell them to come to the clinic. So there already there's a conflict. There's also pressure. And as a leader, you know that you're supposed to be having the grit to absorb the pressure from your leaders who are above, who are giving a lot of pressure to perform and and also achieve targets. And also you're supposed to also manage the the pressure coming from your employees who are you are managing here. And most of the time that pressure comes in form of they don't want to talk to you. They think that you are somebody who is micromanaging them, so they treat with contempt. So you're supposed to be managing their contempt as well as the pressure from the people above. So you see, you're in the middle here, and you can easily be sandwiched as a leader. So that pressure can lead to conflict. There's also power and roles. We know that power brings a lot of conflicts in all organizations. Also, roles brings a lot of conflicts in all organizations. We have goals. People maybe want to achieve this, others want to achieve that. So when goals differ, people will have conflict. Then unpredictable policies. Maybe one day you wake up and say that now the policy we have today is that we are supposed to be having 10 leave days in a month, in a year, while the previous policy said that you are supposed to be having 25. You see, that kind of policy shift is very unpredictable. And people, when you have unpredictable policies like this, people tend to complain or even bring up conflicts. And then we also have personal values. Personal values here has a lot of things. For example, I believe that I'm supposed to be doing it this way, and you believe that you're supposed to be doing it this other way. In that way, already we have a conflict in that organization or other lab. So there is a way you're supposed to be managing conflict, and there is somebody called Thomas Killman. He created a model for managing conflict for leaders and the managers. And this conflict resolution method is applicable in all fields. It's not only applicable here in the lab; it can be applicable even outside the laboratory, even in schools, or even in your family, where you are as a family member and you're a leader there. This conflict resolution method is very much applicable there. So on your screen, you can see we have a vertical axis and we also have a horizontal axis. So on the vertical axis, we have on top there, we have assertiveness. And then on the horizontal one, you have the cooperativeness. So when somebody is very assertive and they are very less cooperative, which means that person will be the kind who resolves conflicts by avoiding the conflict. So this thing just behaves like a line graphs. You move up and down. When somebody is, let's say, less assertive and they are more cooperative, then they will tend to resolve conflict by accommodating. So I will quickly look at these ways of resolving conflict and see how they can help us build a strong team. Because for you to build a strong team, you are supposed to be able to resolve any conflict that occurs in your organization. So first of all, I'll begin very quickly with avoiding. So there are people who resolve conflict by simply avoiding that conflict and not talking about it, because most of the conflicts will just resolve without us taking action. Most of them resolve that way. But you need to understand that this resolution tactic can be useful, and it can also be dangerous at times, uh, um, because some other conflicts may not resolve themselves if we don't intervene. So the people who are involved in this particular mode of resolving conflict, they normally do what is called they disappear when a conflict occurs. You don't see them, they don't talk, they don't do anything, but they just disappear and think that that conflict will resolve itself. So however, this particular mode of resolving conflict can be a habit for some people. They may want to do this by delegating that conflict resolution to other people, or even forwarding and saying that we'll resolve this in the next month's meeting, and so on and so on. But when it happens like this frequently, then this is now done by choice, and it will be hurtful in the long run to the organization or even the team. So, although there are sometimes you can avoid conflicts, for example, when you can avoid conflict, you can use this strategy to resolve conflict. You can do this if you think that you need more time to think about that particular conflict before you resolve it. It can also give you more time to think about that conflict. So you're supposed to see, if I avoid it now, will I be able to resolve it in future? And why am I avoiding it now? Is it because I don't understand everything that pertains to this particular conflict, or is it simply because I'm afraid of approaching this conflict and resolving it once and for all. Then you can see we have people who compete. Under competing, uh, these are people who want to make it right. They are always, when people are highly assertive and highly cooperative, that is when we have people who are competing. They want to win every time in every conflict. They are attempting to win in every conflict, and they are using whatever power is available to them to prevail. So in this competing method, there are also advantages and disadvantages. And one of the advantages that if you need as a leader to resolve conflict very quickly, then you'll use this method of resolving conflict. You'll use competing method to resolve that particular conflict. For instance, a decision in the middle of a crisis, or when you need to make a difficult controversial decision that is going to be very hard no matter what decision you make, then you can use the competing method. You override everyone and then decide we are going to go this way. And then we can also see people who accommodate. Uh, that is when you move towards that axis like this, you can see people are accommodating. So the sentiment here might be akin to extending kindness. A person in this quadrant here, as you can see, will neglect their own concerns and interests in order to accommodate those other people, the concerns of other people. So you also need to know when you're supposed to be relaxing and also wanting to hear what other people have to say about this particular conflict. So in some cases, this approach is the right one to use. It can be appropriate way to address a conflict if you want to create goodwill and also keep peace and preserve harmony within your team. And then we have people who compromise, and compromise, you can see it there in the middle. As compromise is known as splitting the difference. It means that you are finding a mutually acceptable solution that is at least somewhat satisfactory to both parties. So here, nobody wins. You might approach a negotiation or a conflict with your own needs in mind, but in the spirit of give and take, your intent is to find a mutually acceptable solution to that particular problem. You're not looking at it as a loser or a winner. Then finally, we have collaboration, whereby in collaboration, you could be thought as the two heads are better than one. You understand that, where they say two heads are better than one. And it means that you are engaging with other persons to find a solution that fully satisfies each of the concerns. This solution may totally be different from the original solution sometimes, by the way, and each person is each person is supposed to come and collaborate and also make it stronger enough to be the final decision. So you can use and see which one suits you at any given time of your conflict resolution process. Ladies and gentlemen, as we almost wind up, we look at the importance of core values, because a team without core values is a team that will very likely move away from the rail and deviate, or rather go outside what they're supposed to be doing. So under core values, before you look at core values, you're supposed to understand that as an organization, you have a vision, you have a mission before you have the core values. So the vision, as we said in short, is supposed to be where we are going. And then the mission is what are we going to do to get to where we want to go to? And then now core values come in, and the core values will act as the guardrails that maintain us on track and ensures that we are not going to move outside the track so that we can reach that vision that we have. So core values are very important, and you should have them in your organization or even in your lab or your facilities, because one of the reasons you should have them is they anchor leadership. They also influence how you lead, and they also build trust with colleagues and staff. How do you assess a successful team? One of the ways of success of assessing whether your team is successful, you will see that conflicts in your team are resolved amicably, and also this communication is seamless in your team. The targets are achieved, morale is high, and people are happy to be at work. And then diversity is celebrated. And then there's also very limited bias. People are not called by where they come from. People are not called by what they did last year. People are not called for by where they go to church, but people are called by the team. We, as this particular team, we normally do this. So if you have all this in your team, then kind of your team is successful. So in conclusion, I have to say that leadership and management are complementary skills that can be learned. as I said initially, that these things you're not born with them. You can learn them. You can learn leadership and management skills. And it is very good for an organization to have so many leaders and managers at the same time, because people can rise up and take opportunities when it appears. Again, we also have effective leadership and management that focused on achieving results, and leadership can occur at any level of the organization. Even where you are as a lab tech, where you work, you can be a leader at that particular place. You don't wait for you to be elevated by someone. There is something called delegated authority. People give us sometimes to use authority which we don't have. And during that period, leaders normally assess us and see how we use delegated authority. So you can have leadership at any given stage of your life. Then followers normally confer real leadership upon others, as we know that when they see that you can lead them, they will always confer that leadership in you. And then leadership takes courage, takes self-knowledge and therefore courage. And as Nelson Mandela said, courage is not merely the absence of fear. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to project another screen here for you. It's a short video, and then you will see the different types of people that we have in a team. And then after that, you will analyze it yourself and say whether you have these people in your team, and as a manager or a leader, you will see how you deal with them. Let me just project that very quickly. I think we are able to see my screen. Okay, there's a short video that
Yes, we are able to see the screen.
Okay, and that is the end of my submission. Thank you very much. I take it back.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ezron, for that wonderful presentation. Indeed, we have really enjoyed the whole of it. And we take this opportunity to thank you for your efforts, for your time, in preparing it and delivering it in the most effective way. I just want to echo what you said about fear. And I want to say that fear is the only thing that is hindering us from achieving our dreams. It is the barrier that is holding us from pursuing our dreams and reaching our full potential. And so let us get out of our comfort zones and risk from those that we really fear. So from the comments, I can see there are so many compliments. I can see Robert Idodi saying fantastic lecture, enjoyed the webinar, and it is very, very educative. Felix Nganga is saying truly inspiring. Dixon Musango, the video illustration has touched our daily life. Thanks so much. Dixon from Makweni. Thank you so much, Dixon. Emmanuel Kipleting, simple and educative. Jairus, the guy. Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much for that presentation, Hezron. And I want to take this opportunity to, if any attendee has got any question, you can post it in the chats so that our presenter can take it up, or one of us in the one of us attending can also just take up the question. You can chat or you can raise your hand so that we can give you the opportunity to speak. Thank you so much. I can see so many compliments still coming in. Okay. All right. Robert Idodi, I saw your suggestion. We will pick it up. Robert suggested that we serialize our certificates. Thank you for the suggestion, Robert. We'll pick it up and we'll communicate our deliberations to you. All right. Okay. Benson Nene from the charts. Benson is saying Nitupe kazi. That is not clear, Benson. Maybe you can come up in a better way. Yeah. Maybe Hezron, the first question is here. From Rolex Atieno. Rolex is asking, what do you mean by communication is seamless? Hezron?
Okay, Rolex, thank you. Seamless communication is a communication that flows without interruption. Like it is very easy for you to communicate from one person to the next without having people second guessing. It is seamless communication. Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay. Seems there are no other questions. I just want to challenge all of us to consider joining LMSK. LMSK is a professional society for the lab professionals. You can visit us on our website where you can register. The website is www.lmsk.co.ke. You can reach out to us through our email addresses that are in the website. Our phone numbers are in the website so that you can be a member. There are so many benefits of being a member. I might not explore all of them, but there are so many. Trying to check something here. Yes. The benefits of being a member is that first, you'll be certified. You'll receive a certificate of membership for being in a professional society or professional membership. You will get to connect and network with your colleagues in the healthcare sector in Kenya and beyond. You will get to have professional developments like whatever we are having right now. You will have access to curated resources, mentorship, and training to advance your professional journey. just like whatever we are doing here. You will get entry pass to our events, our resources. We just had our dinner last year and we'll be having a conference this year. So you'll get the pass to attend such activities. Then we'll also have opportunities for your research because we collaborate with the research organizations, and you never know. So please find time, go through our website and consider joining LMSK. Otherwise, being that there's no any other question, I want to end our webinar, and I want to again announce that this webinar will attract 3 CPD points, and they'll be credited in the next 24 hours. You'll also receive your certificate of participation. And should you have any complaints, please reach out to us through our platforms. Otherwise, I want to take this opportunity to give our presenter, our speaker, Hezron, to give his closing remarks, then we'll end the webinar. Hezron?
Thank you very much, Bruce. Happy to be talking about this because we realize that we do not communicate effectively, and that is why it is difficult for us to build teams. For you to build a very effective team that is going to be successful, we have so many things that we should do. I've just mentioned a few because we cannot, of course, mention everything in this webinar that is 1 hour, 30 minutes. It's not enough for us to do all that. But for you to build effective teams, you need to put this, what we have talked about, into consideration, plus other small things that you also need to put into consideration. Because if I may end, under equity, under diversity, equity, and inclusion, most of the labs do not honor this because I've worked in places where the proprietor was the husband, the receptionist was the wife, and then the person who was working to clean the floor was the cousin or even the nephew. And in that place, you see, it is difficult to correct people. When you already have your wife in a place working with you, it is difficult to correct them even when they do something wrong. So diversity also bring in several things, not even a strong team, but it also brings different perspectives. And that is what we need as lab techs. And when we say diverse, we're not just talking about bringing a Luo, a Kikuyu, a Masai, and everything. Also look at diversity in the technical competencies. If you have a cytotech somewhere, bring them on board if you need them. If your lab needs a phlebotomist, it is big that the lab tech can also do phlebotomy and lab works also, bring a phlebotomist so that when you bring all these people together, they have different perspectives and it also helps you grow as an organization or even as a lab. So thank you very much. Let us continue working and building strong teams because it is only through strong teams that we'll be able to prosper and reach where we want to go to. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hezron. So I want to also announce that tomorrow we'll be having another exciting webinar that will help us understand and know how to develop our quality management systems, documents, how to develop them, and also know their purposes. So keep time tomorrow, 3 p.m. On Wednesday. Thank you so much and have a lovely evening.